Hello everybody, my name is SurferBoy49. When I'm not busy sniffing out the nearest wave, I'm doing a different kind of sniffing. The sniffing for in which to find an arcade cabinet. It does not matter how dingy a bar is, I will find that Pac-Man setup, trust me. And I have found an arcade cabinet. Sort of. It certainly needs more recognition. So we're talking about Whitewater Wipeout for the Playdate, which does not deserve to be banished to the island of misfit toys. Whitewater Wipeout, to clarify, is not a misfit, and it is not a toy. So get down, do the boogie board, and crank that Soldier Boy handheld, because we're reviewing. Hey, this is a quick editor's note. I feel personally obligated to clarify that the Playdate is way better than the Soldier Boy handheld. Let's move on. The experience of walking up to a comically large arcade cabinet to sink hours of your life is burrowed deep within the psyche of this treasured system and game, because not only is this game exclusive to specific hardware that's hard to get your hands on, but it has an arcade stick. Tilted sideways, condensed, fun size. It's no longer an arcade stick, it's a crank. The crank is an avenue for an arcade atmosphere without the stank. Whitewater Wipeout zooms through said avenue and never goes down the dreaded beltway of mediocre endless runner mobile game. There is a Denny's on that beltway though. Are there any Denny's on a beltway? What is a beltway? I think there could be a Denny's on a beltway. So here's my approach. Similarly to how I owned my first pole position cabinet, insert coin, play around a little bit, rage around a little bit, say the game is too hard, say the game is too fast, say the game is bad, cry a bit, it's healthy, try again, oh wait, I think I get this game. Break through, unequivocally love the game. It's fun figuring out arcade game mechanics when it's not deliberately set up to make you waste quarters. I'm sure that you will be delighted to hear that the Playdate does not have a coin slot. You basically pay up front the asking price for the Playdate, which is like, I think $200, and you get 24 games included. Whitewater Wipeout is one of those 24. This immaculate, free-flowing wave is constantly roaming the coast. All you gotta do is hop on and hope the waiting list for the Playdate isn't too long, Buster Brown. I waited a year and 12 days for this? I love it. There's bailing, men in gray suits, and a bomb. That's surfer talk, by the way. I live 30 minutes from the Oregon coast, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. On the surface, it's easy to arrive at the conclusion that this game places too much importance on a novel concept, this being move the crank to move your character. This couldn't be further from the truth. Without the crank, there would be no Whitewater Wipeout. If you were to remove the crank from this game, it would be like going back to square one and designing how this game works mechanically. If we were to just take a second, list out some characteristics of a compelling arcade game, everyone would at least mention an element of difficulty. For example, when you play Pac-Man for the very first time, its labyrinth-like design dumbfounds the player. You fully understand that the stick moves this yellow pizza pie, but no amount of intuition will immediately unveil the mystery of how to navigate the level design of Pac-Man. That is a slow process that comes from actually playing the game. Go figure. Let's use a graph to illustrate this point. The graph actually sounds too hard to do. Let's say if we had two vague rectangles describing how someone would unravel the difficulty of Pac-Man, break it down in a way. 20% of that puzzle would be understanding the controls, and 80% of that would be labbing out paths and implementing new strategies into your gameplay. The difficulty in this game lies in the deconstruction of what is the most effective way of roaming through this maze. Whitewater Wipeout completely switches these rectangles and yet still manages to create a similarly complex system of arcadey difficulty. 20% is understanding paths and strategies, and 80% is understanding the controls. The controls in this game are dense and compact like sandbars at a beach break. With your right hand, you are cranking your character, you're spinning him around, and with the left hand, you are tweaking that spin and that speed. Keeping all of these methods of wave traversal in mind is an insane balancing act, literally. So, if the player had a good control stick instead of the crank, this would create an imbalance in the game's mechanical systems. To put it plainly, and to put it lastly, because I've been talking about this for far too long, the game only works on a fundamental level with this console and this specific control scheme. You know what? We're gonna restate this one more time, even plainer. If this game was controlled with a control stick, it would be lame. An important confession I have is I have absolutely no reference for how this really would play out because I don't think I'll ever play this game remapped to a control stick. So let me stick to what I know for certain for the rest of this review. As soon as they boot up the game, the crank humbles the player. These controls are intuitive, but only after practice. I mean, let's get real here. Real surfing does not give you a control stick. It certainly gives you a crank. The crank is a beast not so easily tamed, similarly to the ocean. List of things that you will do when you're playing this game. You will find yourself sketchy a lot, slotted a little. You will carve, charge, crease, and have noodle arms. Seriously, cranking this thing for quintuple rotations causes every ligament in my wrist to be fully functioning. I've worked out muscles I didn't know could even be sore. That's probably a thing that new surfers say. But if you're coming to me to complain about your wrist hurting because of doing the quintuple rotations, all I have to say is you're a bozo that needs to get real. I apologize, that was kind of mean and uncalled for. But you'll need to get used to it because this game is the meanest. Whitewater Wipeout hammers its insults into my very being. I'm not being hyperbolic. Every time you lose, the game will make fun of you. It doesn't matter how far you get, how much farther this new high score of yours is, it will always be egging you on in a very mean manner. But hey, that's fine. That's why you have to have friends around to take turns, like if you were at a real arcade. Take it from me, if you bust out your playdate at your latest get-together, it will bring about the most earnest, dude, you have to let me try that. This may sound inconvenient or awkward, but you just need to make sure that you are among gaming's brightest. Because there is nothing like gathering 10 of the foulest smelling gamers to play that cabinet killer queen. It's the best one. It's not up for debate. Go to Portland Retro Games Expo this year and play that game. It is so freaking good. But herein lies a problem. How are my one friends going to gather around this 2.7 inch screen? If I had 3 people, that's less than an inch per person. I waited a year and 12 days for this? Wait a second. Playdate mirror? You mean I can really easily make this screen bigger? It's a really nice change of pace if you want some backlight to your life. The Playdate doesn't have one. But I like it still, so maybe play Whitewater Wipeout next to a lamp, bro. Now, I will try my best to put everything that I've said in this video into one sentence. Here we go. Whitewater Wipeout aggressively captures the raw essence of an actual arcade cabinet high score chaser without losing its unique, amazing identity. Well, that's all I gotta say. This is a pretty rejuvenating kick-ass experience, so consider buying the Playdate. If not, perish.